I'm gonna trust you, Lord. I'm gonna trust.
Honestly, I think right now in my life, I am being more challenged than ever. And I'm saying that like I've been alive for so long. But I think right now I'm being really challenged to trust God more because I'm in my 20s and I feel like most people in their 20s are always trying to figure out like what they're doing with their life or where they want to go career-wise. Do they want to get a real job? Do they want to follow their dream and go toward their passion or whatever? And I think I want to do both. I kind of want to do both. I'm grateful rather that the Lord has given me freedom to do both, to live my dream, and also I have career dreams that I also want to live out as well. So I think having to trust his plan for that has been challenging, and I think mostly because of who I am. I have a lot of thoughts around what trust can look like or what believing his word can look like. And I wonder like why it's so hard for us sometimes to trust him and trust that what he said is what he said. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is that we want control, or at least I've wanted control. I think I've recently gotten to a place where I'm like, you know what, Lord, you really are sovereign. You really are sovereign, and I really don't have the control that I thought I did. All these works and these things that I grew up thinking that I could do to put my life in a certain place or guide my own path in a certain way, like all that's like in vain and for nothing if I didn't surrender and submit my plan to you. I actually recently journaled about this, which is funny, but or at least journaling about feeling like I'm not in a certain place. I feel like I should be somewhere else because I'm often the younger one in my friend group. And I forget that often that a lot of my friends are like a little bit or a lot of bit older than me. So I see them like doing the things and they're more like their path seems more concrete. And they seem like they really know what they're doing and they really know what's going on. And I learned that nobody knows what's going on. Like nobody actually has all the answers. Nothing is really what it looks like. So I think in that vein, I think I've learned to trust God with my timeline, because I had the timeline. Because I grew up hearing you go to school, you graduate, you go to college, you graduate again, you get a job, and then you have money, and then you get married, and then you have your home, and then you have children, and then boom, life is made. This is how you do it. This is what it is. Nobody tells you all of the little detours and the little like different paths that can happen, or like sometimes some of those things aren't a part of your story, and I think that's okay. If you're a believer, at least I think it's important to really listen for the voice of God and listen to it, not just listen to hear him and say that you heard him, but actually like listen to what he said and do what he said, obey what he said. Because that's the only way we can like really have any form of fulfillment. I think anything outside of his plan, his will, his purpose for your life or his path for your life, it's really chaotic for no reason. I feel like people are missing out on a lot of peace because their faith is lacking, because they don't trust in God and what he said. We have to be okay with our story being our story and not comparing our testimony in our life to others, whether those are people that we're seeing in the media, social or otherwise, or that's people that we actually know personally. Like I think comparison can show up anywhere, and we should take on the responsibility to like nip that in the bud and kill that before it chokes out our joy. I used to struggle with anxiety like really, really bad. Like really, really bad. Like panic attacks, multiple panic attacks a week, panic attacks every day. It was terrible. It's terrible news. I kind of accepted that maybe this is just what it is for me. Maybe I just have to live through this. Like maybe this is just my everlasting struggle. And I kind of sat both in therapy and with trusted like leadership that retraced some of these roots. And I was like, dang, like I really be stuck in my head and I think of the worst possible thing all the time. And I get overwhelmed by the possibilities, and these possibilities are often negative. And even if they're not negative, sometimes I'm overthinking of all the possible things that are great that could happen, and even being overwhelmed by the potential of a good thing. I don't know why everything scared me so bad, but it did. What I realized was that a lot of my anxieties were perpetuated, a lot of my worries were perpetuated by my lack of faith in the Lord and my lack of trust in him. And I'm not saying that if you got anxiety or if you're struggling with anxiety, that that's your story. It might not be. But I think when I finally said, all right, Lord, I don't know exactly what you want me to do. I don't know exactly where you're taking me. And if I'm honest, that terrifies me because you could take me wherever. But I think I became content with that when I finally like sat in surrender. And I sat with who he was, because I think what it was that I didn't know him well enough to trust him and to be okay with trusting him, because I didn't know him that well. Our relationship wasn't as intimate as it could have been for me to say, nah, I trust you. Like, I trust you with my life. I trust you with whatever. Like, let's do it. Let's go. I think my prayer, my hope is that more people that are like me or like what I was, I think my prayer is that people know that it's not something you have to live with. It's not a condition that you have to accept and believe as truth or accept as just your permanent reality. I think there is hope. If Jesus is alive and Jesus exists like we believe he is, like we say he is, then there's always hope. There's always opportunity for freedom. But the question is, like, do you want it? No matter how long it takes and no matter what you have to give up to get it.
Doesn't matter what it